Hey guys, welcome back to AutoTechNick. Today, after a long wait, we finally, I don't know what he's doing. We finally get to the Chevelle, get a good look at it, see what kind of car we ended up buying, see what kind of work we have to do to it. So hang tight, we're gonna get to it if this guy can actually pull it together. Alright guys, if you've been watching this channel for a while, watching the jet boat rebuild, you probably saw in my earlier videos that we were undergoing a big basement remodel. And if you saw the first video on the Chevelle, that's why we didn't get the Chevelle off the trailer and really get it inspected. I had that dry box that was stuffed in the driveway that was blocking everything, and on top of that, all of the contractors, we just didn't have the space to do it. Well, basement remodel, check. That's finally done. Finally got that dry box picked up. That's all done and gone. We're free and clear now. Trevor, very patient the whole time, knowing that just that dry box pickup was preventing his car from getting off the trailer and everything getting underway. Trevor's in school, so I figured, you know what, I'm gonna get a little jump on it, get the car off the trailer for him. So hopefully when we get home tonight, we'll have some time to crawl over it, start the inspections on the car. Really, we have a long ways to go, so we need to get cranking on this car. So like we mentioned on the video, guys, we brought this home. It's a 72 Chevelle. This one actually happens to be a Malibu trim level. So we picked it up from the grandson of the original owner, and the car is incredibly original, and for the most part it's complete. You know, once we get into the interior, you're going to see that there's really not much interior there, which is fine because, as you can see from the condition, we really wouldn't have used much of any of it. So as I mentioned, very original car. Used to be a vinyl top car, so you can see that we're suffering from a lot of pitting up here on the sail panels, here on the top of the quarter, a lot of the rust from that vinyl top, and even back here on this tail panel. Much worse over here on the driver's side. You can see that we have a significant hole. I'm curious to see what happened back there on the divider, the partial shelf, and the trunk floor, of how bad that rust is, even up here. So obviously when we went and looked at the car, I saw that rust. I knew it was there. You can follow it down in the quarters. It's down here in the corners. So I knew coming into this project that it was going to get at least quarters. Once we get into the inside, I'll show you there's quite a bit more that we have to worry about. So floors, trunk at the minimum, potentially a roof on it. I do have some holes, and depending on what we decide to do to the car, I don't know if we're going to put a roof skin on it or patch those holes. Trevor and I have been talking. We don't know if we're going to go back with a vinyl top or have a painted roof with no vinyl top. So I think the path forward, what we're going to choose on how to repair the roof, kind of comes down to what we're going to do at the top. What we have decided thus far, Trevor, right? The vinyl top is kind of dictated on what color we're going to go with the car, huh?
Yeah.
So you can see Malibu trim level, 350, which we talked about in the first video, turbo 350. It is a factory AC car. You can see it has this belt line trim coming down the sides, which it's in pretty rough shape. So I've kind of done some looking, and I can't really find replacements of those. So we'll have to make a decision if we want to try to chase down more trim or just eliminate it and get rid of the studs. I personally think it kind of conflicts with this body line up here up top and looks better without it. Trevor's a little bit biased and right now says that he prefers the trim, so...
It depends on color though.
It depends on the color?
Yeah.
Well, that's a solid point. I think we'll need to get the car cleaned up and we can evaluate that down the road. So, really the big question on this is rust. As you can see down the bottom of the fenders, those are completely gone, so it's going to need bottoms of the fenders. The car is really straight. The door looks pretty okay. I think there's maybe some small rust. We're going to have to build some patch panels. But you can see the corners back here on the quarter panels, right here on the tire, that's gone. That's rusted out. You can see the bubbling, and then on the bottom, it's just gone. So I'm not even going to worry about it. The car is just going to get a complete quarter back here on from the factory seam, pull the glass out. We're just going to replace all that. So the fact that it has the rust in the various sections isn't a big deal. It's all getting replaced. I don't really know what the condition is inside the trunk. We kind of talked about that on the first video. The trunk lock is messed up. Someone tried getting into it. The key does fit, but we can't get it to turn.
All we've done is peeked inside.
Well, yep, we did take a little bit of a peek because the trunk is unbolted from the hinges on the front, so you can lift it up a little bit. They have the back seats loose, so I think they crawled through the seats, unbolted the trunk in hopes of getting it open. This quarter is kind of more the same. It's kind of a shame because the car is really straight, and I'm pretty certain that it's wearing the original paint job. I don't think it's even been repainted, so I do think we're gonna have to replace a fair amount of sheet metal on it. I kind of hate to get rid of good clean original metal. I guess it's not clean. It's
not
rusty.
Yet. Not yet.
Well, yeah. Well, it's dirty now, but got a lot of rust. But you know, for me, you can see down here kind of the same thing on this fender, but the corners of the doors look good. We're gonna have to pop this chrome rocker off and see what the rocker panels look like. I've kind of peeked just a little and I haven't seen anything that worries me yet, but we all know with rust it can look good and be really terrible. So, you know, the hood is completely fine. There's surface rust, but there's no deep rust, especially on the front edges, and I'll show you here underneath. So everything's very good. You can see that all the trim on the car is there, although some of it's beat up. The front bumper is a little tweaked, a little bit of damage to the front grille, but overall very nice, very clean. Now, one of the things that really excites me about this car in particular is the fact that it's so original and so untouched. I really don't mind going through and undoing all the wear and tear and the damage from Mother Nature, but it's so much more fun for me, or exciting, to have a car that hasn't been messed with or monkeyed, or, you know, no one else has really gone through and altered it. For the most part, this car is how it came from the factory, and one of the things I really like is you can see all of my gaps. They're nice and good. Everything lines up, it's straight, it's even. So even though we're gonna have to blow this car apart and do a lot of work, we're starting off with a much better base. We have all of the trim, all the screws. We're gonna know how it comes apart, how to get it back together. We'll know where the gaps and problems are. So in the end, starting with a car like this, although it has quite a bit of rust, is gonna be a much nicer finished product and a little bit easier to work on, because it's a much better template to start with versus, say, if we were to get a car that was someone else's project and that they abandoned and just kind of gave up on. So that's one of the things that just really has me excited. Say, like when we go ahead and put the quarters on it, I already know that we'll be starting with really good gaps. So it's going to be a lot easier to get this quarter panel put on and maintain those good gaps, in the end making a much nicer car. So we'll go ahead and pop it open here. And you can see, as I was saying, there's a little bit of rust in the door, so we're gonna have to do some rust mitigation to get that cleaned out, be sure that it's not eating away too much. So it's areas like that that very fixable, but I don't want to chase too deep into that. So hopefully that's not too bad all the way down. So in the front, and it's areas like this up here in the rocker at the bottom of the cowl, they all look pretty decent. The rocker seal here looks very good. And you can see all the way up in the jam, that's where I can tell it doesn't seem like it's been painted. There's no overspray. Everything's, you know, has a good color separation from the original color. So same way on the driver's side, looks really nice and good. We can kind of poke around here on the inside. You can see that there's no carpet, almost really no interior. So I'm probably guessing, since this car sat outside since '99, my thought is that it got soaked and nasty in here and they pulled it all out. I do remember, I don't know if you remember, Trevor, when we were at the DMV, Rob was telling us that the seat wasn't original. They took it out. And the back seats are loose in here also, so I'm wondering if they took the seats out to get the carpet out so that way it didn't stink. But also they kind of, I think they got the back seats out to get into the trunk like we mentioned.
Yeah.
So the dash, or the dash pad I should say, luckily it's a black one and it is not cracked, and it appears to be the original. And even the dash itself still has the original radio, has a nice cigarette lighter that hopefully Trevor won't be using.
Nope.
And you can see it's all there, although not in the best of shape, but it is all there. It's complete. You know, they didn't cut out the radio and stick a modern CD player in there. So
even if I do get a bucket seats, I like the shifter on the side of the steering wheel.
the column shift,
Yeah.
you like that?
Yeah, I've always liked it.
Well, I'll have to show you what the bucket seats, they actually have a shifter in the center, and it's a horseshoe shifter if it's an automatic. So we'll see if you still like that once you see the other options. But we can change it to whatever we want.
Because I've always liked it just being on the side here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Mostly because it reminds me of your truck.
My truck shifter's not up there. It used to be, but I took it off.
When?
Oh, when I was 17. Mine's on the floor of the truck. I have a B&M ratcheting shifter in there.
I'm going to have to go see what I was talking about then.
So we have what's left of a door panel here, and you can tell by the condition that it's pretty much junk, and that's why I'm not really bothered by the condition of this interior, because not much is usable. You can see the seat, again, really just, it's gone. It's going to need foam, possibly some spring repairs, obviously upholstery. As you just heard, Trevor and I, we've been discussing, trying to decide if he wants to keep a bench or go with buckets. So obviously we have a very long ways to go before we get there. We're going to try to keep and maintain what we have now and get the car functioning and running before we really start spending time chasing changes of that nature. All right, what you got in there, man?
Well, looks like warranty from Les Schwab.
Les Schwab?
Yeah, a whole bunch of warranty, a straw, and a sponge, it looks like.
Nice. Why don't you pull those out and see what the year and mileage is on those? Because this thing's showing 47,880, and I'm sure this is 147,000. And if I remember correctly, when we were getting the title, he was telling us that they rebuilt the engine at 100,000 miles.
Yeah.
So it should have more. It will probably be up at the top. Yeah, that one says 73,000 miles.
This was 93.
93, so find a later one. 73,000, yeah. So this has 150,000 miles on it.
Well, it's been sitting since 92, hasn't it?
It was last registered in 99.
Oh. Well, then there's got to be one.
Everything's real nice. Dash pad's good. Got to get that cleaned up.
I think this is just a warranty. This doesn't really
Yeah,
say.
it's all the for the tires they put on the car.
Oh, this is the tires. I'm looking for mileage.
You can see all this needs to come down. That's going to help us evaluate the roof from the inside, but also this is going to collect moisture and continue to cause more rust and rot. So I want to get all that out. Get the rest of this. Hey.
I'm not finding. Oh, I did see that. It's just a antique shop ad.
Antique shop ad, huh?
Yep.
Let's see if we can. What are they selling?
We got a litter bag to clean
Litter
the car
bag?
with. No drinking.
Mad. Wow. That's a throwback. We'll have to save that and show Mom. That's kind of a blast from the past there.
Okay.
So that's if I remember correctly, it was Mothers Against Drunk Driving is what MAD stands for. Is that what it says?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it said. Yeah, Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Yeah. Wow. That's funny. All right. So let's go ahead and see what's under the hood. What do you say?
We're doing that right now?
Yeah.
Okay, one second.
Not the trunk, the hood.
Oh.
Look at the engine. Ooh. Different time, my friend. Different era. Cigarette butts. So, all right. Let's go ahead and see what's up under the hood.
Right?
All right. Yeah, you got to pull that out aggressively. More. More. Keep pulling. then lift up on the hood. Stand up and lift this way with your hand. There you go. Now pull on that more. Here. No, put your hand on it. I want you to feel it. Now lift up on the hood. There you go. There you go. Good job. All right. Like I mentioned, guys, really, really original car down to the factory air filter. It's
battery
still
goes here.
2-barrel. Yep, the battery goes there, which it's gone. So there is a couple things I noticed earlier while we were looking at this, Trevor.
What?
I noticed that if you look down there, the fuel line is off of the fuel pump from the fuel tank, which is interesting because, you know, this was a classic ran when parked, but the fuel line's off. And we'll take the air cleaner. The air cleaner was off when we got it, so all that was already loose. But the coil wire is also off, and both of the terminals for the coil right here are undone. So I think we're gonna have to kind of dig around and find out why that is, Trevor, because it almost seems like they're having some kind of issue and they're trying to figure out why it wouldn't run or run right and abandon it, or maybe they did that so that way they could disable it and park it. I'm not sure. I did notice one other thing. We don't have the belt for your AC compressor on, but your clutch for the AC compressor blew off. So that's why the belt's probably not there, which again we'll have to look into. I don't know if there's any refrigerant in the system. I doubt it. But really clean, original, like I mentioned earlier. I was told that this engine was rebuilt and bored 40 over at around 100,000 miles, but everything looks good. We should probably check and see if there is even any fluids in here.
I was going to do that, but I didn't know it was in there.
Well, this should be radiator fluid, which it is empty.
And this is,
That's either, it should be washer fluid on that one.
what, is this for washer fluid?
Yeah.
Just dust.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything in there. So over there is the dipstick for the oil.
Oh.
So you're gonna pull it, nope, down. That's the fill for the oil.
This is
yeah,
the
pull that
dipstick.
out. And I'll grab you, don't touch the end, let me grab you a towel.
All right.
So, do you know how to read the dipstick?
No.
Well, can you look at it right there?
Yeah.
You see there's oil on it.
There's oil at the end.
Yep, do you see where it says add and full in those two lines?
Yeah.
So the oil should be in between those two lines.
All right.
So it's just a hair below it. So it has oil, but it's a little bit low. Oh. Which isn't that big of a deal. So it doesn't smell too bad, not full of fuel. So we won't worry about that right now. We can wait and see if it fires and runs before we mess with that. You have another one back here, Trevor, for the transmission.
All right.
And that's not it. There we go. And this one's pretty full. On the transmission, you have to check when the car's actually running to get the proper fluid level, but we just need to make sure there was some fluid in there. So everything's there. I mean, all the spark plug wires are on. Almost everything's connected. And hold on. And the thing that, as I mentioned earlier, where it's really original, it's hard to find a car that's made it through this many miles, this many years, and it still has all the factory vacuum lines and brackets, all that stuff. That's really what gets me excited. I've gone through a lot of cars, and it's more fun to get something that hasn't really been monkeyed and modified. It's fun to do it yourself, right?
Yeah.
So even though it's old and dirty and rusty, we get to be the ones that monkey with it and change things and decide how to make the changes.
Yeah.
For the most part, despite the rust and wear and tear, this is how the car came from the factory in 1972. So let's check and see if it has any brake fluid. So we'll go over here. The brakes are going to be a big question. You can see it's a manual brake. We'll get under the car and I'll show you there too, but it's also a four-wheel drum brake car, which we might monkey with, but in the long term, it's not going to stay that way. I'm not going to have Trevor driving around with drum brakes. So, ooh, that is on there. Ooh, can you hold that?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can't get this off. So the problem is with brakes, the brake fluid collects moisture. It's hygroscopic. Oh, there you go. Wow. And that causes corrosion, and then it rusts together. But that is completely way over full. All right. Well, either that's brake fluid or water. Brake fluid. All right. So one thing here, show them how easy that hood opens and closes. We have not lubricated anything, and that thing, like butter. We haven't even lubed it yet. No, it's good. Huh? We're good. So, all right, Trevor.
Trunk.
We're gonna go and we're gonna get started on drilling that trunk out. I don't know if we're gonna finish it tonight. We're gonna see how far we get. So, we're gonna go grab some tools and get started on drilling. All right, man. I'm gonna go ahead and get the first hole started for you.
All right.
To get this drilled out, and then we're going to use a small drill bit and then start using bigger and bigger drill bits to get this drilled out. And then it's going to allow us to stick a screwdriver in and get this popped open.
Okay.
Now, I am absolutely hoping that the bolts that hold the trunk on are in the trunk. So that way we can bolt the trunk on and everything will be good. If not, we'll just lift it off. We're going to destroy the lock. Okay, so that's completely fine. But we want to be sure that we don't do anything here on the body of the car. Okay, we don't want to get that ruined. So go ahead and all right, pilot hole's done. The key to this is you don't want to go super fast because that's hard on the drill bit. Okay, so just go ahead and get in there, and you're gonna probably have to push some pressure in it. Push, put your body weight into it. There you go. More. Push. Okay, feel it? Keep going. Keep going. Gotta keep pushing. All right, pull it out. Pull the trigger when you pull it out. There you go. Let's take a look. So we're gonna have to go a lot bigger, but that's down to the bottom. Okay? So what you're doing is you're drilling out the part that you twist with the key, and then that's going to let us put just a screwdriver in and twist it and pop it open. So the key to drilling is pressure, slow, steady pressure. Okay. So you got to push your weight into the drill to get it to go. Okay?
All right.
There you go. It's fine. Yeah, you got to hold on to it. All right, pull it out. Grab my screwdriver and see if we can get in. Ha!
Well, that's not looking too bad.
Well, it's pretty bad down there.
Yeah.
Factory jack and tire iron. It looks like you got a screwdriver. You are absolutely going to need a trunk pan. Let's make this so you don't have to lower this down, so you don't have to hold it up. I'll just take it off for a second. All right, guys, we just got the trunk off. You can see we're fighting for light here, but pretty cool. I'm pretty excited. We got the factory jack, 2 tire irons there. Presume that's the plastic cover for the jack, and that's exciting, and I think that makes up for the lack of trunk floor that we have. So this is pretty much what I expected. Not a surprise. So far though, from what I can see from the rust, it's not as bad as I thought. It really matters, Trevor, see, like all the floor we're gonna have to replace. Okay.
Yeah.
But what really matters is if we're gonna have to get into these wheelhouses here and this rear tail panel. So we might be able to. Oh, hey. Oh, they got the trunk pinned down. That's interesting. they stuffed these 2 bolts in here to keep the trunk down. I wonder what was going on there. So they somehow got the trunk unbolted, wedged it down, and had it locked shut. But is what really matters. If we can see, yeah, there's some rust back up in that corner from that rear quarter, so we'll have to investigate further. I don't want to put a partial shelf in it. I like to keep as much metal, the original metal in this car, as I can, but there is some rot right back up there in that corner. So Trev, I think we're running out of daylight tonight, so I think we're going to go ahead and clean up and call it a night. Okay. We'll come back out here tomorrow. We can maybe start messing around the trunk a little bit, but we also want to get up underneath the car, see what we have underneath the car, look at the rear end, transmission, engine. We also kind of need to pull the front seat out and the back seat and check the floor pans and see, really dig in, see what kind of rust we have. So when we're underneath the car, we can check the rocker panels and see if they're rusted from the inside. So like I mentioned, we're going to clean it up. We're going to go in, have a bite to eat. After I get home from work again tomorrow, we're going to come back out here, see if we can finish this up and make a judgment call on what we ended up bringing home. All right, Trev, day 2, I think is what I've decided to do. Since we have the trunk off, I think we're going to pop the trunk lock cylinder out, and then we're going to get the trunk, or see if we can get the trunk bolted back onto the car and working. And once we get that done, we'll continue to look over the car, and I'm doubtful by the time we get done with that tonight that we'll get under the car. Probably do that tomorrow night, okay, Trevor?
Okay.
And Roman is very sad because he lost his ball underneath your seats.
I know.
Yep, he's just going to have to deal with it, isn't he?
Yep.
You're going to have to wait, Roman. All right, come on, Trevor, let's come back to the trunk. So I was able to just grab some generic hardware, since ours is missing, to go ahead and bolt this on. But there's one thing I want to show you. Go ahead and try to run that bolt in one of those holes.
It's too big.
It's not too big. It'll go. But see, it's tight, huh?
Ah, yeah.
Is it going?
Yeah.
Did it get stuck?
No.
No?
Well, it's in there.
Yeah, let me see.
Oh, now it's stuck.
Yeah, see, that's what I was expecting. See how it's tight and it gets stuck right
Yep.
there? So that's because of the rust that's in there, Trevor, and that's going ahead, and that's the rust kind of like grows and chews up, or not chews up, but causes the metal to get real rough, and almost it kind of grows and it's scaly, and that's what's causing the bolt to get rough. So what we can do is we can go ahead and take a tap, and is what a tap is for, is this creates threads and things. Mm-hmm. So we can run this through there and create new threads. But a tap is designed to remove material, and that's not necessarily the best thing to do for this. Mm. So we have that as a backup plan. But what we actually have here, if I can find it.
Can I crank it in?
Huh?
Can I crank it in?
We have this. You know what that is?
Another screw?
Nope, it's called a thread chaser. So this is actually made to clean threads and won't remove a bunch of material. So once we run this through in here, the bolt should spin in real easy. So go ahead and get that started. Now when you use these, here, we want to lubricate it because we don't want to force it. So a little WD-40. Can you get it?
No.
Okay, put that ratchet on there. Now gently twist it. Go slow. Here. Yep. Keep going. The dog sees something. How's it going? Now be sure, keep going. We don't want to go too deep. You have a long ways to go, because if you go too deep, you can run that through on the backside and put a reverse dent in the metal and push the metal of the trunk. But you can keep going. Does it feel like it's getting any tighter, or is it going nice and smooth?
Smooth.
Nice and smooth. All right. Keep working it out. Is a good thing to do is stop every now and then. Let go of the ratchet for a second. Okay. And you put the ratchet and go the other direction, and that clears the gunk out. Okay. And then now flip it over and keep going. Nope. Keep going. There you go. I flipped it back. Now flip the ratchet and go backwards to clear it out, and you'll feel it go tight, and then you'll feel it free up. You feel it free up? Mm-hmm. That's when it cleared the gunk out. Then once you feel it free up, switch it over and go back. Keep going. You got a couple inches, so you're not going to run that through. It's going to fall through the threads. The tap is longer, and so the tap could actually run through and put a dent in there, but this thread chaser won't. I brought the tap just in case the thread chaser wasn't going to clean these up. but it seems the thread chaser is doing the trick. So you keep going. You want to get all the threads, because once we're done, then we're going to take this bolt and you'll see how nice it spins in there. So, here, pop the ratchet off for a sec. Yep. Yeah, see, you've gone all the way through. So now that you've gone all the way through,
I do the reverse and take it out?
no, I actually just see, like, I can just do it by hand. Now, try your bolt. How's that? Quite a bit better, huh?
A little bit.
Yep. So we're going to do this to all 4 holes, and then we need to go ahead and see if I can lever down those hinges and get those bolts that are jammed out.
I'll take it back out.
And we will, yeah, take it all the way back out, because you have to do the other 3 holes. So do the same thing on the other 3. Be sure to use a little bit of lube on them, okay?
How do I know when it's done?
When this is done, it'll fall all the way through the threads like it did last time. Okay? So I'm going to let Trevor get these knocked out real quick. We'll bring you back once we got everything hooked up. Also, Trevor, since the trunk is out, I think we're going to go ahead and pop out what's left of our trunk latch. We got pretty aggressive with it, so that way we don't have to fight around it and work on it. We can just get it out of the way now, because it's obviously ruined. So we're going to get those taken care of, and we'll bring you guys back here right in a second. All right, man. Next thing we need to do is get these hinges up, which they have these bolts wedged in. So I'm going to try to push down against the spring, and I need you to reach over and try to grab that bolt out, okay? You ready?
Yeah.
Get in there. Pull the bolt all the way out. There you go. Good job. All right, let's do this other side. Okay? Wiggle. You get it?
No.
Can you try to twist the bolt?
It's like, it's in the wrong... The position it's in, it's like...
Let me see. Let's see. Very stuck in there. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
That was a little tricky. Okay. Whew. Now, we're going to have to carry the trunk over, and we're going to hold it like it's open, and then hold it up.
Do you want... And then, like, you're going to hold it up and then put it in?
Well, they go in from the other side.
Oh, the other side.
Yeah, so just hold it and kind of watch what I do, and then I'll get my bolts started, and then once mine are started and in, you can go ahead and get yours in, okay?
Okay.
So get on the other side of the trunk over here. Okay, now go up over the car. Okay, and then down. Now don't, don't pick it up off the car. Cover. There you go. Now pick it up, and then you can kind of rest it on the hinge. They're not going to flop down. Look how my hand is. It's a lot easier to pick it up with your hand underneath. And you can, look at me. You can rest your shoulder on it, and it helps hold it up. There you go. And that way I can hold it in position with my shoulder and my hand, and it gives me the one free hand to go ahead and get them put in.
Do you want me to put mine in?
If you think you can, go ahead and give it a shot. Okay, here. You got it started. Get the other one started in there now. It might help if you pick this up a little. There you go.
Get started?
Yep, you got it. Here. There you go. And see, I can tell where the old bolts were by the rust marks, so we can pick it up some. There you go. Now tighten that one down. Okay, I think that's probably good. You want to tighten these ones? And I think that'll be good for now. I don't think we need to perfect the fitment of the trunk lid for now, because...
I go this way, right?
Yep. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. I think that's good. All right. Trunk's on. How does it fit? Not too bad. Could use some adjusting, but we're not going to worry about that right now, okay?
Okay.
All right, guys, as you can see, we're just plucking away at this just tiny bits at a time. We only have maybe, 40 minutes at night of sunlight when I'm out here working on it. We got to go in and have dinner, so we're going to come back out tomorrow, get the car up on jack stands, crawl underneath the car, get it evaluated, But for now, that's it for tonight. We'll be back in the morning. We'll finish this up. All right, so with everything out of here, the seats out of the way, Trevor, how does the rust look to you?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Most of it looks like surface rust.
A lot of it does look like surface rust. A lot of it is getting a little bit past surface rust. So I'm pretty excited because what this rust looks like, it's going to give us a lot more options on repair versus putting an entire floor and rockers into the car. Really, for me, I view rust on cars, there's two types of rust, and there's a car that's going to go ahead and rust from the ground up, and a car that's going to rust from the top down. So a ground up rust car would probably be your typical rust belt car that's up in the Northeast, salt in the roads, a lot of moisture, and absolutely everything on that car is rusted. So it is just not just single piece sheet layer panels like we have here that are rusted, but everything. Now this car I'm saying is rusting from the top down, meaning all the rust that we have is all from areas that had water leaks, mainly from where the windows sealed up, the back window back here, the front windshield. Those leaked, that water ran in, got on the floor, and it rusted out that section of the floor, so it's very isolated in those areas. There's other areas like the bottom of the quarters that collected dirt and debris, and they rotted out kind of around the wheel wells, but it's not, everything's not rusted, which makes it a lot easier because the rust doesn't get into all the cross bracing and it doesn't get into the rocker panels. So by showing that, you can see that all this area is pretty good, and like this rear seat pan, that's where the rust is at. Clearly there was a lot of water getting back there, rusted that material out, but the area right up next to it's pretty good, not much rust. But you can see back here, a lot of this is surface rust. We'll be able to clean it up and save that metal. So I know at a bare minimum, it's going to need a rear floor pan. Over here, you can see just starting on the driver's side floor pan in front of the back seat. There's the gaping hole on the driver's side. We're developing a new hole up here on the passenger side floor pan, and although I don't think there's a hole on the passenger side rear, it's pretty scaly. It's losing a lot of strength. A lot of that metal's gone. Trans tunnel for the most part seems pretty good. And the biggest thing, the biggest news is the other night Trevor and I came out here. We pulled the chrome rocker seals off of the car so we can inspect the outer rockers, and they are very good. Extremely solid, no rust. Honestly, the only rust that's actually there is just a little bit right here next to the fender, but it's just surface rust. Even if I needed to do a patch, that's a very small patch, easy to fix. I knew the fenders were gone once I got it off. Obviously it's worse, the rust grows, it goes down, so we're gonna need lower halves of the fenders. The other fender on the driver's side, much worse, which was obvious when the trim was on, but once we pulled the trim off, the whole bottom of that fender is gone. We actually ended up pulling up a big nest of something out of there, huh, Trevor?
Ramen.
In a ramen bag, yep. So there was a bunch of bags, weeds, some critter had been up there. We pulled all that out, but you can just see that it's completely gone. So we'll have to go ahead and address that. Luckily, just like the passenger side, the front edge of the rocker, very solid. And we'll see if I can show you at the camera up underneath. But the inside of the rockers, very solid, no rust, and all the way up to the front. So there we go, get the light. So you can see right up there, that gets to where the fender's at. So once I get the fender off, we might need a little bit of cowling work, but we don't necessarily need to do rockers. And if I move you over here, you can see that all of our cross braces look extremely good from the bottom side. There's still a lot of undercoating and probably oil and grease protecting those. So even back here where the floor is rusted, that cross brace still looks really good and strong. I don't think we're going to need a whole lot there. Really, the whole underside of the car looks extremely good. It even still has the inspection cover on the transmission. So it's obviously got leaks everywhere. It is indeed a turbo 350, but that inspection cover rarely makes it back on. It's still there. All the cooler lines for the automatic transmission are still good shape. Can't see from here, but it's a 10 bolt. I haven't jacked the rear up, but I'm most certain it's going to be an open diff 10 bolt rear end. But like I mentioned, the frame, just surface rust, no big rust. All the junction points in the front, no big cracks. It's not rotted out. Same thing for the rear. So our frame is in really good shape, very straight. You can see this thing still has the factory-ish single exhaust, not even a dual exhaust on this car. So overall, like I said, it's an incredibly clean, unmolested car. For a car out of the Pacific Northwest, this is in really good shape, although we get a lot of rain, a lot of moisture. For the rust and corrosion, it's really not that bad at all. And when we started this idea with this car, Trevor, we kind of just pitched the idea of an older car with him, and he was game, he was down. He absolutely was down to do it and had interest in it. So then we started kind of going through different types of cars that he wanted, and he definitely immediately pinpointed or zeroed in on muscle cars. He really liked those, so we kept showing him different models of muscle cars, different types, just to see what he liked. The Chevelle was one of those cars on the list. To be honest, his taste was really good, thus expensive. So all the cars that he liked, far out of our price point. Cars that are well out of the range that we could afford. This Chevelle, we got a absolutely smoking deal on it. It was within our budget, but mainly the reason why I bring this up is I knew that any car we were going to get with the very small budget we had was going to need rust repair. I was completely fine with that, and I was willing to invest the time into rust repair. Now, some cars were more appealing to invest that time into than others. You know, some cars just aren't as exciting to invest all that work into, but this Chevelle here, it's a no-brainer. We're going to go through, invest all that time and work to get this rust taken care of, and hopefully this will be a car that Trevor can keep forever, similar to the truck that I have. All right, Trevor, what's the consensus? Did we end up bringing home a good Chevelle, or is it just a basket case?
A good Chevelle.
It's good. I agree with Trevor. I think it's a good Chevelle. Yes, it's got rust, like I just mentioned. I expected and planned on rust and panel replacement. This one actually is better than I thought it was going to be. I thought we were going to have bad rockers, and I thought it was going to have basically no option other than putting in an entire floor with rockers. I have options. I still may go that route. Not sure. We have to game plan. But I think what we're going to do first, Trevor, this car, it's so close. I think this could be a runner and driver just how it is. So I think before we really dive in and start chasing the rust, we should do some smaller projects, see if we can get this thing to run and drive. We can go through some of the suspension, go through the brakes, go through the transmission, and you know, maybe we can take this on a couple drives before we really dig in and start cutting her up. Does this sound good to you?
Well, won't we have to fix the steering?
The steering, yep. So I didn't show you guys earlier, but all the steering joints, the center link, pitman arm, idler arm, completely shot. There is probably 1.5 inches of play. I was showing Trevor that earlier, shaking the wheel. So there's a lot of stuff that we're gonna have to do just to get this thing roadworthy. And I kind of think that's the plan. I think we're gonna get it roadworthy, work through those smaller items, get this car to be a good running, driving car. We can probably pluck away at some of the smaller rust, like the fenders, and keep the car running before we really jump in it and go after the floor and trunk pan and quarter panels, right? All right, Trevor, with that being said, I know that you have been chomping at the bit to wash this car. Huh. He's been dying to get rid of the 24-year-old patina that it wears. It took 24 years to look like this. You just want to, like that, get rid of it?
Yep.
Yep, all right.
Ready for it to be orange.
Ready for it to be orange. He's thinking about painting it orange, so that's one of the colors, probably the top color so far. So with that, the next video, do you want to go through and wash the car and give it a good scrub down? Or do you want to see if we can get this thing to run? Oh, tough. What do you want to do?
Run.
Run? All right. So guys, you heard it from the man himself. Stay tuned to the channel. Next video, we're going to see if this thing will start and run, if we have a running engine or not. And then after that, obviously, you know, he's dying to scrub it down. So I think he made a good choice. We're going to go ahead and call this one for now. Yep. Guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate you for tuning in the channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We'd really appreciate it. Stay tuned because, like I said, we got a lot to do to the Chevelle. We appreciate the support. We'll see you guys on the next one.